And welcome to In-Game Chat for Saturday, April 5th, 2014. This is Season 8, Episode 14. I'm Scott.
I'm James.
Dennis.
I'm RJ.
And in the booth...
I'm Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Hey.
Matt is hanging out in the booth tonight. Welcome to the show. Oh, goodness. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our phone number is 334-272-9228. That is 334-272-9228. You can check out ingamechat.net for all the links to get in touch with us. You can find us on Twitter at ingamechat, as well as over on Facebook. You can email us, everyone, at ingamechat.net. We are streaming the cam feed right now through Twitch. You can go over to twitch.tv, find In-Game Chat, and you can watch us there, as well as join us in the chat room live while we broadcast. So, welcome everybody to the show. It has been a pretty long week for me, and I'm kind of glad to be back.
And welcome back to you, man.
So, thanks for having me back, and I sound very strange, oddly enough. It sounds weird. I don't know why. It just sounds weird to me, probably. But
what sounds weird?
Well, you've been through a lot.
My voice sounds weird.
Your voice does sound weird.
It sounds strange. So, anyway, but that's great, because I ain't going to be talking much, because there ain't much for me to talk about. I have been so far out of the loop when it comes to what we do here.
You played the bed rest game for pretty much the entire week.
I did play the bed rest game.
Without your Vita.
I know.
Of all the times,
oh man, that's
right?
the worst mode.
Everybody who owns a Vita should carry around their Vita in their day bag on the off chance that they wind up in the hospital for a week and can't go home and get their
You
things.
really should. You really should. It's one of those things.
You'll never... this obviously goes for people who don't live in major metropolitan areas with public transportation or shared commutes or anything like that, where handhelds are meant to be played, apparently. But yes, on the off chance that you are laid out on your rear end for a long stretch of time, you should definitely bring your Vita.
You definitely should.
Or your 3DS or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
3DS is good stuff.
Anything, trust me, anything in that place would have been fine. Solitaire would have been great. Minesweeper would have been nice. It didn't matter, just something. But yeah, it was rough to go through. And but I had electrical outlet and I had LTE on my phone, so that way I could watch you guys do your show last week.
Yeah.
And keep up as much as I could with things going on, but it was retained for a very short amount of time before any amount of pain or drugs took place of anything I was thinking about. So anyway.
Well, I will say you were missed.
Oh, thank you. And fine job you did there, Matt.
Oh, thank you. I was nervous.
Not really. Ow, that hurts. Oh, no, you did it. You did. In fact, everybody, God, it was amazing. We've never had to do that before. We always assumed.
We were, look, for all of the periods during the last episode where all I had to do was talk, we were perfectly fine. Just talking is something that's very, very easy to do on this show. It's the transitions, it's that smooth movement from one segment to the other that Matt is really horrible at dealing with.
I tried my best.
I know.
Wow.
I know you did. Anyway, yes, you're back. Thank you very much. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you can intro us and take us out and all of those other things.
Be glad to do it. But as far as games, I haven't played a thing. I have not played a bit of anything electronic. That's it. Other than fumble with a bed adjuster and a nurse call button. That's all it's been for me. So what has everybody been doing? What's been going on? You guys fill me in on the news.
Well, speaking of people who are back,
Oculus is still being sold to Facebook, by the way.
Yeah,
that wasn't a joke.
Happening, yeah.
That actually is the thing that really, really did happen and is going to keep happening. And that everybody is convinced is a really great idea, apparently.
Yeah, apparently it's kind of come around, or the hate cycle has moved on from where it was.
I think it's very easy to move straight towards acceptance for something like that, just because it's the inevitability of something that big isn't something that you can scream and holler about for too long and expect change. You can't. It isn't going to listen to you. Facebook does not care what you do, what you think or say. It does not care. At the moment, there is really no reason to believe that there is no concrete reason to believe that Oculus is going to deviate from what they've been doing. There's nothing but suspicion,
There's
gut
not-
instinct.
There's nothing but well, maybe this could happen one day, and that's about it. There's no hardline evidence. It's like, this is why, the evil empire of Facebook has bought out Oculus.
Right. They want to be a part of the future. They recognized that this kind of VR is a part of the future. I think the next step really needs to be broad experience for the consumer market, so that the largest number of people can really get their hands on it and see where it's going. Right now, it's an incredible promise being made by several different developers, a promise designed to fulfill a half a dozen different types of fantasy. But I don't think the reality is going to be that special. I don't think that if Oculus winds up taking a different tack due to being owned by Facebook, if they move more towards into the realm of social interaction and less into the realm of just pure gamesmanship, I don't think anything incredible will have been lost. I think some experience might have been lost, but I think someone else will come along and make sure that it gets addressed.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still open source and everything. Anybody.
Yeah, sure.
Anybody can
I
vote
mean,
for it. I mean, it's.
it has not functionally changed yet. We only know that ownership has changed hands. It's going to be some time before we actually see the purchase bear fruit, and so I don't think anybody's particularly worried about it right now. I don't think it's going to turn out well, and I think, like most other things, it isn't going to turn out the way people want. Things don't turn out the way you want. They turn out the way they turn out, for a multitude of reasons. So it's no bigger news than it was last week, so you can rest easy with that. But yes, people who didn't spend all that much time away, Amy Hennig,
Yeah.
finally
Hennig's
landed on
back.
her feet.
Landed with Visceral Games, of all people, who's working on a untitled or unnamed.
She
Star Wars
is-
project.
She landed with EA.
Okay, she signed up for EA.
Well, I mean,
Well, no, I mean Visceral Games. She landed at Visceral,
yeah.
and she's the creative director of their unannounced, unnamed Star Wars project. But Visceral is EA.
Yeah.
Right.
I talked to her
So-
today, and she could not comment, obviously, on pretty much anything.
Oh,
She can't say. I mean, she does have to move from her current location.
Where's Visceral located?
I'm not. You know what? That's a good thing for people to check who are in that other room over there.
Yep.
But yeah, it's. I'm not sure exactly where they're located.
Visceral's in Redwood City, California.
Yeah, she's moving. Actually, she's moving. She's moving to San Carlos. So she says I'll be mostly working with at EA and Lucas, but she thinks she'll be down in LA a lot. So that's what she was telling me. But yeah, I was saying, hey, you want to come on and talk about it? And she's like, well, I don't know what I can or can't say yet from EA.
Sure.
They haven't
Yeah.
given me any kind of. She didn't even know who her contact person is, who is supposed
I'll
to
say
get
this
me in touch through
just
those people.
announced
Yeah.
a few days ago.
It's
so.
way too soon for that. So, but yeah, I was.
So what would this have been? This is no more than
What,
6
two-
weeks.
Has it been that long, really?
I was no more than that. Certainly since she left Naughty Dog.
Huh.
Doesn't feel that long.
I didn't think it was that long.
I didn't say it. I said no more
Yeah.
than that long. I'm trying to
Okay.
not really make maybe a month.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
sounds.
4 to 6 weeks. That's not a terribly long time to be out of work in a situation like this. For somebody like her, it's not expected that they would grab her up as quick as possible. And I think this is probably a good fit. It lends some credence to the notion that maybe this was waiting for her anyway, that she wasn't just cast off into the ether, into nothingness.
Yeah, just the way that the timing sort of rolled out on that. I mean, it's very good for her. I'd hate for her to be unemployed for a substantial amount of time. So,
Well, certainly, but I mean, I guess the question is was it inevitable that somebody like this would pick her up as soon as she was on the market, or are we
Was it
looking at
waiting in
something
the
where
wind?
where somebody said, look, this is if you're interested in coming to work with us at any point in time, we've got things over here that would fit you,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden she finds herself out of a job for various reasons, undisclosed reasons, and so here she is. I don't know, but
Hopefully it's a better fit, or a good fit at least.
it's been very interesting watching the reactions of people to this specific thing, because people have there are strong feelings, it goes without saying, about Electronic Arts, and there are equally strong feelings about Visceral Games, largely because people couldn't stand what they did with Dead Space 3. They didn't like the direction it went with that. They didn't like the direction that the games in the series have been evolving. So they assume that that's the direction everything visceral does will evolve in the same direction.
I can almost feel that's, in a way justified. Just, having played all three.
No, not liking 3 is justified.
Yes. Well,
Assuming
thinking
that
everything that's
indicates a
gonna be that way.
trend for the future is not justified.
No.
And that's one of the biggest problems that people have, overcoming their assumptions about what any particular thing in the market happens to mean.
Yeah.
But
Kind of like Facebook and Oculus.
kind of like Facebook and Oculus,
Just
that's
a
right. But
little
Facebook is evil, so
Well,
it's perfectly
well, so
fine.
is EA, of
Yeah,
course.
I forgot. You're right.
Yeah, remember Evil Empires all around.
But more so than that, there seemed to be an awful lot of people who could not understand why somebody with a talent and a well-developed skill set for crafting character and story and narrative would have anything to do with the Star Wars franchise. I know, right? And that was my initial reaction as well, but I had to think about it for a while, and I really began to wonder what I had forgotten that Star Wars itself, both as a film and literary medium, as well as a gaming medium, seems to have real divisions in popular culture. And who you are and what Star Wars is to you says an awful lot about what this move means. I mean, Matt, you and I are roughly the same type of person with Star Wars. We were very young when the
Yes.
originals came out, but we were around.
Yeah, seen all 6 of the saga in theater on release.
Right. I mean, I was only like 3, but I did
saw
see the
it.
first one.
Yeah, I saw it in a drive-in theater.
So the earlier years of Star Wars games, I guess the prime years, which would have been in the 90s,
Yes, of LucasArts.
were all incredibly story and character driven.
Things
yeah.
like Dark Forces and TIE Fighter. and
Right.
what.
There was a time when, though sort of campy and pulpy and schmaltzy, the Star Wars stories were considered wonderful. The characters were considered incredible.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't,
They'd introduce new ones like Kyle Katarn or Marek Steele.
and they dovetailed perfectly into the larger universe. They
Yes.
became better characters in some ways than the canon characters.
Yeah, it wasn't almost just rehashing, the Death Star trench run, although they did a fair amount of that, to be sure.
Well, one must always rehash Hoth.
Yes.
That is a law. That's a
Ever since Shadow of the Empire, that has been amazing.
right.
But they were able to craft.
Ever since Empire Strikes Back on
Yeah.
Atari.
The Atari
Oh,
2600.
geez, yes. But they were able to craft an entire, more of the universe instead of the further adventures of, the main characters.
Right.
And so you were able to see what's going on over here or over there, and like how did these things play all together into the main story.
Right.
And it was amazing. It was a wonderful time to be a gamer, and to be such an avid Star Wars fan as I still kind of am today.
Right. In spite of, and this is my second point, you're still a big fan in spite of everything that's happened in the last 10 to 15 years
I
To-
hold on to that childish hope.
to
I think.
teach an awful lot of people that the Star Wars universe is essentially garbage,
Yeah.
that there isn't a whole lot of merit in it at all. So I think there are a lot of people who believe her talents are absolutely wasted. I'm among the people who think
They need it.
she's like a missionary, right? She's like a missionary into sort of an unholy land that needs cleansing, and it needs organization, and it needs some kind of direction. It needs somebody
New
with her talents.
ideas.
It has
Needs-
lost all of the
yeah.
people with those talents.
Yes.
That's why it has turned into the kind of thing that nobody cherishes anymore.
I'll say, what is the last Star Wars game that really knocked it out of the park for you?
Knocked it out of the park?
For me?
Oh.
Yeah, but see,
hold
there we
on.
go.
Well, we're
This
going to
is
get
why
different
Amy
answers
Hennig-
here.
This is why Amy Hennig would be a good fit for it.
Now, knocked it out of the park? For me, I think Jedi Outcast.
Yeah,
That
that's
was-
perhaps
How long ago are we reaching back for that?
we're reaching
Yes.
13 years, I
Yeah.
think.
13
For Jedi Outcast, I
years.
think, I believe. You even brought me my copy, I think, Matt,
Yep.
over to my apartment. I remember that. It was 2001,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
because that was like back when we were in the basement of playing games.
Yes.
But-
But one of the biggest things
Actually, I
about
think
that
it was
game is how
2002,
quickly it
but-
was. Do what?
I think it was 2002.
Yeah,
I'm looking
whatever,
up right
man.
now.
It's-
Yeah.
We're all old
A
enough that what does a
long
year mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
90s were just like 5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. The 90s
5 years
will
ago,
always
it's 5
be.
minutes ago in my head.
Yeah, that may have been the last one, and it wasn't even a shining example of story or narrative. It was just,
No.
it was a shining example of lightsaber combat.
Yes.
I remember that.
It was game mechanics.
You guys would do nothing but do lightsaber duels in.
And then turn
multiplayer.
on that cheat where you can actually do the dismemberments.
Yes,
That was,
saber realistic combat.
Yes.
It was
And
a
it
good
was at March 26, 2002.
Okay.
Yeah, you're having to reach back to 2002 to find
Well,
the
okay.
excellent Star Wars game.
And it was excellent because it had great lightsaber combat.
Yeah.
It wasn't even really
Not
excellent
even
in
because,
terms
not
of
because of
everything
Star
else we
Wars
wanted.
story.
Right. I would have to reach even a little further back than that. Probably into the 90s. If I'm going to be absolutely honest, I need to go all the way into the 90s to find something where I really feel like the Star Wars universe, in terms of story and character, was everything I wanted it to be. So, assuming that they hired her either away or gave her somewhere to land specifically because of her talents, her skill set, the things that have made her a name worth working with in this industry, and that they can give her the room and the budget to run, which this is Star Wars money, you know?
Yeah. Well, I was about to say, look at what she did with literally no budget with Legacy of Kain, for example.
Yeah.
This isn't just Star Wars money. This is Disney Star Wars money at that.
This is true. So I choose, like Matt, to be optimistic and to believe that she's there to make it better, and that we are not going to see EA make her worse, if that makes any
Hopefully
sense at
see
all.
something like bringing in Joss Whedon do the Avengers. Kind of like, it's like,
In a manner of speaking, yeah.
why didn't we do this sooner?
There aren't an awful lot of people that I would trust to build a story-based, narrative-based type of game in the Star Wars universe. Not one moving into a new revision of Star Wars, and she's one of those people. You know, it would have to be someone like her, or, you know, Clint Hawking, or I don't even know who. In his own way, Ken Levine
Yeah.
could probably fit really, really well into that universe. But there aren't an awful lot of people that you could just trust and say, here's your money, here's your team, here's your space to work.
We need to do that with Totally Games.
It doesn't exist anymore, Matt. Give it up.
Never.
So yeah, it was awfully nice to hear that she landed there. And I know that a lot of people are going to be skeptical, and it's probably going to be...
Well, until we see a finished product, everybody's going to be like, oh, okay. What
Yeah,
is this?
well,
And that's the thing. Is
that kind of leads us into that idea that, I mean, it's been around forever, but it's sort of dogging pre-release footage even more now.
Isn't it?
The general
Yeah.
growing distrust of pre-release anything,
yeah.
due in large part to recent Ubisoft shenanigans, and Dark Souls. I mean, again, I know that you are apparently okay with Dark Souls.
I'm fine with it.
You fine with it?
I think more than a few people probably are, because it's not something I see on a lot of the internet threads, at least not in places I'm on. Maybe on like GAF or something, it's probably a bit more vocal, but most people aren't complaining about graphics. They're like, oh, here's this thing, and you know, people talking about the April Fool's joke they did with putting down Solier's summon sign in some place, I think,
Yeah.
which didn't work, but kind of amusing.
Yeah.
I don't think the graphics are anybody's real problem. I think the lying about the graphics are people's problem.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little strange not to have a problem with that. You know? To say that here is the footage, here is the game, right? We are making a game. I am Guy, I make game. Here's what game looks like. So, buy my game. Pre-order my game. Go ahead and give me upfront money for my game, because here's my game, and it looks like this. Buy my game.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. All that stuff is gone. Looks like crap.
Well, I mean, this is
But it's okay. It plays great, and you really like it, and you're a big fan, and everybody's fine, and we're going to look past it, and it's okay, and it always happens.
It always this isn't a recent phenomena at all.
No,
This is-
but the waking up to the idea that it is pervasive is a recent phenomenon.
yeah, that's
The
what's-
large numbers of people who are waking up to their own, who are really getting in touch with their own frustrations that this has always been going on and essentially always will go on. And it is frustrating. How are you ever supposed to know until, I would say, until you read a review or watch a review online or talk to somebody you know who's played the game, but those aren't even trustworthy anymore.
No, because 9 times out of 10, it's just like, no, it's just clickbait is all it is.
Yeah.
And
for their own reasons, for various different reasons, not a lot of people believe that those reviews can be trusted either. Now, you can find your own sites that you like. You can learn the nature of preview materials and try to figure out what in it you can trust and what you can't. You can say, I suppose, that you trust an individual developer or somebody. I don't know. But there isn't an awful lot of trust going around in the industry, and I guess that's really what I'm driving at. So you can trust in Amy Hennig's skills. You can trust in her past performance, but you can also show clear evidence that the business has stood between what she wants to do and what she gets to do.
Yeah, and that puts just a big question mark on whatever product comes out of there.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to wait for a really long time. It'll be something to see whatever the first thing is that EA does with the Star Wars license.
Nabokov in the chat room says you need a Star Wars game where you play as a Jedi or as Han Solo. You go on a journey. This was a conversation we had in a parking lot a few weeks ago, where the focus of every game of a Star Wars game, or at least recently,
has been Jedi.
Jedi.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons why I love TIE Fighter so much, is because, number one, you're not a Jedi. Marek Steele had no Force inclination. Well, actually, I think according to the expanding
Nerd.
universe, shut up. But it was told through it was the first time it was told through the eyes of the Empire. You know,
Right.
even from the beginning opening scroll, it was about, the cowardly rebels, attack on Yavin, how we gloriously fought them back on Hoth, and all these things. It was from a different point of view, and it was just awesome space combat. It was treachery. It was a lot of. It was, to me, still is my favorite Star Wars game.
Oh, it was fantastic, but it was very, 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 very different before '99. Before he
For the
developed
prequels?
the prequels.
Mhm.
Yes.
Jedi were not a thing.
Not really.
There was like a couple of them. They were prehistoric.
In Movieverse, there were 2 at a time at most, and then 1 at the end.
Right. They were representative of a disgraced and ravaged and collapsed and non-existent order. They were mythology, There were some things in the comics about them, but that was all in the distant past.
Yeah.
There was some exploration in the novelizations that they did, which were to, varying degrees of cheese and pulp on their own. But the whole concept of Star Wars was not lightsaber duels and Jedi. That was only between a couple of named individuals. The biggest star of the Star Wars universe was the Star Wars universe. It was TIE fighters and Star Destroyers. It was the ability to run around at, hyperspeed and to have droids and do all of that sort of nonsense. But being just soaked in this whole notion of Jedi was not what Star Wars was at all.
It was almost a little weird when Jedi Knight came out, and then you found out that Kyle had Force abilities. It's
Right.
like, because the entire first game, there was no Force whatsoever.
Yeah.
There was no lightsabers, no nothing.
Oh man, you were a guy with a ship and a blaster.
Yeah.
And it was
you know,
great.
And an awesome, navigator. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they pulled Force powers out, and you're like, okay, this is interesting. This is the first time I could actually swing a lightsaber around, or
Right.
the first time I could shoot lightning from my hands, or all these kind of things. And just from there, it just kept on adding and adding, and
I have felt more a part of the Star Wars universe when playing games, right? And if we want to get down to it, this is the entire point, right? At least the point to a great game, not just a game that sells well and sort of does okay, but a game that we remember as a thing of greatness is something that allows us, at least in a licensed type of game, it's something that allows you to really feel like you have slipped to any degree into that world, like you have found your own place in it, or you have inhabited some person from that world. It's something that no other form of media can do. And that's why a game like this is at its best when it lets you feel that way. And I've never felt that way more than sitting in the cockpit of a starfighter of some sort. Like running from TIE fighters, trying to blow up a Star Destroyer, escorting a convoy, because
even doing
everybody
the
loves
cargo
escorting
missions
convoys.
in Alliance.
Yes.
You're just doing cargo runs, in your Corellian transport. That was like, yeah, this is
Right.
awesome.
I have felt least a part of the universe anytime they put a lightsaber in my hand, with the exception of Jedi Knight.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I am hoping that because these are sequels, because we will be moving back to the place where it isn't all just about a bunch of jumping around and force pushing and using lightsabers and stuff, that maybe, please, maybe I can get back in the cockpit of a spaceship.
Have an actual space battle for
Please.
once.
I will pre-order your game based on footage that is a lie, as long as it is footage of a space combat game.
Just tell me I get in the cockpit.
Just
somehow.
please. Is that the sound of my spaceship?
That was the sound of your spaceship. I don't exactly
Taking a
know.
break.
That's very strange what that was. But anyway, so yeah, that was supposed to come in like this, that you could finish your thought. Instead,
My
it
thought
did
is
a weird
finished.
thing.
Play you off
Yeah.
the stage, as it were.
Yeah, anyway. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have more of in-game chat in just a moment. This is music from Forza 3. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. That is music from Freelancer.
Another
there was a good
wonderful
game for flying
Man.
around
space
cockpit.
game.
Yeah?
Yeah.
One I never played.
You didn't.
Oh,
It was-
so
it was
good.
great.
Man, it was so good. It was so completely. That game is a perfect example of how something bad can still be good. How a broken thing, how an incomplete.
Or even like a bad promise, because they lied about that one.
They lied
And they
about
didn't
that.
deliver. But what they did give us was a lot of fun.
Oh, it was fantastic. It was ridiculously fantastic, but it was largely in part. It was part of its brokenness. It was part of the. If that game, that's a game that came out too early.
Yeah, by far and away.
If Freelancer's design could have been. If it could have happened much later in a world that didn't develop the way this one did, it could have been one of the all-time greats. As it stands, it's still one of the all-time most fun games for anybody involved in it. But it wanted to be an MMO
It really wanted to be what EVE Online is now.
with more action.
Yeah.
What it wanted to be was the EVE Online people wish they could play, where you were actually grabbing a joystick or a mouse and keyboard and directly controlling your ship. But it had all of the. I don't know. It was a beautiful universe. It was a really fun place to play. It was a poorly realized story, but a nonetheless kind of perfectly executed world. It was really fantastic. It had you would not think there could be so much variation in the landscape, so to speak, of space, but there really, really was.
It was really ahead. It was ahead of its time, and it came out in what 2003.
Yeah, it's still a little bit ahead of its time. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, by evidence by fact that nobody's tried to do it again. Which
And
could
I
also
remember the
because
first
it
time I
sold
started
horribly.
playing it, I was like, "What? No joystick?" Because I'm used to space.
Right, it
flying
was
with a joystick.
it controlled like a third-person action game,
Yeah,
but with a mouse and a keyboard,
and it worked.
and it worked really, really
That
well.
was so good.
But it was really, I mean, it was incredibly fun to play. It wasn't like a lot of space games where everything turns into a turning battle. Which, I don't know, anybody that's ever played flight sims or space combat sims in particular knows that there's one of two ways to do it. You either become a turret, essentially floating dead in space, right? Or everything is an endless turning battle. The idea is to try to turn inside of your opponent, and so that you can kill them before they can kill you. And that's not incredibly unrealistic, but it is very, very, very boring. And all of this takes place in essentially empty space, which is also fair because space is essentially empty. But neither of those things makes a particularly good video game. So they just kind of threw the rules out the window and said that this doesn't make any sense. We're making a game, we're not, we want it to feel good. We don't actually want it to be realistic. So the combat in particular was, I don't know, it did feel a little bit strange.
I love just jumping around from planet to planet, system to system. You get in the little hyperspace lanes, and you just jump around. And
Right. Well, all the
visit
planetary systems were completely garbage, right?
Yeah.
It was like every star, every planet, everything just kind of stayed in one space. Nothing changed over time.
There was no like, not astral movement, but the planets didn't rotate around us.
No, there was no,
you
there was
always go
nothing
the
like
same
that.
place on the map.
Everything
every
was
time.
totally static, but it worked. It allowed them to actually create kind of a landscape in space. You could point your ship in any given direction and just fly for like 30 minutes and find something interesting. Wind up in a debris field, or wind up in an asteroid belt, or
doing some salvage, getting attacked by pirates.
running drugs. You could
Yep.
find an old wrecked ship somewhere that had been destroyed and abandoned in an ice belt, right? Or you could learn about its location in a bar. You go into a bar at some space station somewhere, talk to some shady dude. He tells you that he'll sell you the location of something that's worth a lot of money. You can take that, fly out to that location, run past the blockade, avoid the cops, go deep into a dangerous radiation field inside of an ice belt, find this ship, steal its cargo, run back, try to get past.
Try to get back to Manhattan.
Yeah, try to get back to Manhattan. That's right. Get past the border cops and find a
Scan
place.
your cargo.
And
Yep.
and find a place to sell your stuff. And it was. Man,
It's what I've
there's
been
nowhere
wanting to
do
do in
that.
the
There's
Millennium Falcon.
Nothing. Yes, it was the best Millennium Falcon simulator.
Yeah.
Very much made me think of a updated Trade Wars, if you will.
Yeah.
Particularly if you got a multiplayer server going.
Nothing like that. Nothing like that happens anymore. It was really very sad, but it was, I don't know, it was a great game. It was a really great time. It was good to play all by yourself. Story mode or non-story mode, it didn't really matter all that much. It barely functioned in multiplayer. I mean, it's sort of kind of functioned in multiplayer.
Just wasn't a lot.
There wasn't anything to do. You could chase each other. That was about it. You could try to chase each other, but I don't know. It was a really good game. It was one of the best times I've ever had, sitting in a cockpit in space. It stymies me to believe that dream is kind of gone. That idea, that need to play games like that is essentially, I sound like a fool saying this because, how many millions has Star Citizen gotten?
All of them.
30-something of them.
Yeah, they have all the money now.
But where is that money coming from?
People who want
People who played things like Freelancer, who want to do
Yeah.
it again.
They announce a new ship and everyone goes gaga over it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Must order.
I'm really trying. I'm really trying not to use my love for something like Freelancer. I'm trying not to let that transmute into excitement for Star Citizen. I don't.
I can understand that, but I mean, it's hard not to get excited about Starlancer and Freelancer, and because we still hold that warm fuzzy feeling inside when we think about those games because they were so much fun, and I sort of push that on to Star Citizen, hoping that it'll bring me back in that space.
I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah.
Over 40 million, actually, says the chat room.
That's a lot of money.
Wow.
It is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It's also one of the reasons that nobody has to actually worry about Star Citizen going.
Star Citizen
anywhere.
is going to come out.
It is going to come out, and it isn't going to be picked up by something like Facebook. There's simply
Right.
no need. They are perfectly strong enough to stand on their own 2 feet. But I don't know. I can't really explain that kind of yearning, and maybe it doesn't actually work for a lot of people. Maybe it doesn't work for anybody who never actually got in a cockpit and flew around in space. And I don't know, that was great, right?
Closest I got to that, the closest I got to that awe-inspiring moment of flying around in space was Colony Wars.
Colony Wars
That was
was
the best I
really
got from it.
good.
That was the first time
Yeah, but it was really good.
that I got this sense.
It wasn't a low
of-
bar or anything.
No, it really wasn't. But that was where it first came from me. Was Colony Wars when I played it, and I was in this. I was like, wow, there is no up and down. This is amazing.
Yeah.
There was I loved that. Loved it. So, and G Police that Matt mentions as well.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So that's where I got my first taste of space flight. That was realistic, I guess, more so than being on a rail shooter space type
Yeah.
situation of anything else. But yeah, so freeform space flight, that was it right there. Good stuff. So anyway, what else? I know we're reminiscing now. Basically, we're just using this to reminisce,
We
which is
spent,
fine. We do that a lot. It's no big deal.
We spent 10 minutes based on the intro song for this segment.
Exactly. And it's a good thing because the outro song for this segment, you'll know when you hear it, and
Is it going to be Mega Man?
we'll worry about it then. It is not Mega Man, Matt.
Well, we should talk about newer things like Amazon. Amazon announced the Amazon Fire TV, which is essentially if a Roku and an Ouya got together and had a baby and then sold it for $99.
I don't get them right now.
But look, I paid attention to this. I was like, oh, another way for people to watch apps. And I thought, okay, that's fine. But I started hearing the people that they were bringing on for their game development. I mean,
Yeah,
they're hiring game developers.
They're then setting up their own game studio, and it's
That's
all
what I
Android.
started. That's what I was paying attention to.
I mean, they've been doing this for a while. They acquired Double Helix, who were working on Microsoft's Killer Instinct for a while. And now that they were bought by Amazon, and it's basically their game studio now.
Mm-hmm.
And they just picked up Clint Hawking from Far Cry 2 and Kim Swift of Portal to come work there as well. Which, it's like, what are they setting up for? I mean, they have no shortage of partners right now. Telltale's putting out all of their products on there. And Amazon's sitting there saying, well, it's not a game console. And really kind of isn't. It is meant to be more of a streaming box.
Right.
Akin to the Roku. Just happens to be able to play Android games. And it's like, well, here's this nice bonus for you.
Yeah, that's about all it is. I really respect them getting into this simply because they've done an incredible job delivering whatever product they seem to be interested in to the market, largely the delivering side of it. So
Yeah, I
because
mean,
their customer service is fantastic.
and the fact that it ties in with my Prime account and everything else, I can watch. But their own app on everything else that I own ties into my Prime account, so that I
Yeah,
can
so
watch.
So it's kind
Every-
of like, what is the reason to get this, right?
Well, I tell you, I tried to think, and I was like, man. So here I am, stuck in bed, on meds because I can't really move around very much. I'm stuck in my bedroom. My bedroom, I used to have my TiVo hooked up in there and TV, and then I just got rid of that and was just, I used my big TV and my whatever else to do my TV stuff. When I'm done, I go to bed. I'll look at my phone, or if I really want to, I'll take my laptop. But otherwise, I go to bed. However, I've been stuck in bed, and I look at this thing and I'm like, man, that'd be great to have in here. I could just hook it up to that TV that doesn't get any use anymore,
Yeah, well,
and I could sit there and watch some stuff.
and you can later on when you're like not in bed so much, take it out the living room, plug it in there.
I don't know,
and deal
it's
with it.
portable. I can do the same thing with a Roku, or I can
Yeah.
do the same thing with any of the other number of things on there. It just happened to release at a time when I thought, oh, that's obvious. That's really convenient to have right now, But if this were any other time, I think I would. You know what? I look at this for getting my family something for Christmas, like I did with an iPad, like I did with a single cup coffee maker, like I did with a Nest, like I did with a Wii. They'll enjoy this. This will be nice. They can just
Yeah,
hook this thing up, and
Can't beat the price either.
They'll
right?
think it's
$100
wonderful.
for all this. And
because they have never seen anything else like this. They don't know what the Roku or what the Apple TV thing does.
They aren't necessarily tech savvy.
They're not. They're not. They use their apps on whatever their TV their TV
Their
has
smart
right
TV
now.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. But you could show them this, and it works a lot better, and it ties into my Prime account, and you can do this. Blah, blah, blah. Here you go. Take it. Have fun with it. And then that's where I see its usefulness for me.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what other games come out because I wonder what this is going to do for how this is going to affect Ouya at all. Because Ouya's what 300?
I use 300, but it can do the same thing, right? It
Yeah,
plays. It does
plays
apps and
Android
stuff.
games.
Does it do the apps? Does it do Netflix? Does it do?
I honestly don't know.
Wait a minute. What? Ouya's what?
Ouya,
Is what?
Android gaming
No, I know, but you said it's what? 300?
300, isn't that right?
Or is it 250? It's not.
I mean, is it honestly?
Well, I take that back. I have seen it on sale for like $99.
I was saying like 300.
I have seen it on sale for like $99. There's been some sales to push it into people's hands for like $100.
That can't be right.
Yeah.
No, it is down. It is down on Ouya's official website, $200. So this, I must be thinking back when it first launched or when they were first suggesting it.
God,
To $100 or $200?
To $100. An Ouya console and controller, $99.
$99. That's
Okay.
what I thought. Okay.
I mean, that's okay. That's a little more like what I was thinking. But even
Yeah.
then, even at $100, I'm not able to find I would never buy that. So I don't know. I don't know. This entire mission that Amazon is on right now, the hardware mission, the app running platform, does nothing for me. I understand that this is at least on the gaming side, this is $100 billion a year industry, and half of that is in application, little apps, phone apps, mobile apps, demi mobile platform apps, and I don't care. I don't care. They're earning plenty of money. They don't need me to care. I care about other things. And unless this little thing is going to put me in the cockpit of a starship and I'm flying around feeling just super awesome, right? Not wasting a little bit of time, not filling up all of the seconds between the two things I'm having trouble paying attention to, or giving me something to, flick my thumb across while I'm sitting in bed. I don't want that. I didn't get into that for this. I got into this for big things, to go out and do large scale, completely impossible, imaginary things. I did this to fight dragons. I did this to vanquish evil. I'm not in this to fling birds across the room with rubber bands. I don't know. I apologize. I'm really beginning to rankle at everybody's need to shoot cute little apps at me.
Yeah.
I don't care. I actively anti-care, whatever that is. I'm sick of it. I need bigger. I got into this for the big, not the small.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. How much of our interest is in the minority as far as like society at large?
Oh, my point of view is vanishingly small, and I'm perfectly aware of that. It isn't. I don't think this is any kind of injustice.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about mobile gaming. Yes, I am, but I'm not really mad about mobile gaming. I'm not exceptionally out of sorts about application platforms or small, silly games and independent developers having a wider audience because of more platforms being available, like theoretically. I don't know. But there's nothing logical to what we're doing. This is it's video games, man. This is what this is about. We're not a bunch of people who care about technology in general. I mean, maybe we are, but that's not what this interest is about. I did this because it was the first best promise to be able to do things, to be able to live in some way vicariously, through something that isn't possible. I want big, grand adventures. I just hate news about people doing small things. I don't know. Amazon hiring Cled Hawking might lead to something big. I could care about that an awful lot. That guy likes to do big things.
Yeah. Those were the names that perked my interest there to really see that. Not really to pay attention to them, but just to be like, keep an eye on whatever they're going to be doing over there. Just to
I
see what
have to
happens.
believe it's more than money.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll go crazy. Thinking that, I mean, seriously, thinking it's just being dragged around by money, which is probably the truth, to be honest with you. But I have to believe that it is at least something like the promise that Patrice Desilets was given by THQ before they completely imploded,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Here's all the money you need to do the work you want to do. We will give you the time and the space. Pick your team, build your studio. Take us to whatever place you are most interested in. Give us that adventure, craft it, build it, do what you want to do. And, it turned out poorly. So, and I know it's expensive. I know it's tragic and terrible and takes years and years and years. And there are many bad headlines surrounding big budget things. And I think people are really weary of big budget things failing and going bad and failing to deliver and eating money, How many more THQs do you ever want to read about? How many more times do you want to be kind of heartbroken about the loss of something that could have been interesting, like 38 Studios?
Yeah.
Nobody likes that kind of thing. And in chasing big budget gaming sort of requires that you're actually going to have, big budget heartbreak, I guess, at some level. But I don't know.
Greater the reward, the greater the risk.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
That's sort of, I think, how I feel. I don't know for sure. I don't know. I'm not in a mood for small things. I'm in a mood for bigger things, I guess.
I think more than anything, innovation.
Innovation's hard.
I know.
I mean, what are you going to...
I mean, that's...
You can't
that's,
just choose to innovate.
No, but you want the bigger thing. You always want it pushing the limit. You always want something new to be coming out almost. But, and we've talked about this before, it's just, that's extremely difficult. Looking at the jump between the PS3 and PS4, when you go back and look back at, like, from PS1 to PS2, it's...
Technological diminishing returns are a real thing.
Yeah.
And they're difficult to overcome. Figuring out what hasn't been done yet is also incredibly difficult to do. Trying to find that new vector, that new path.
But
new
also,
direction.
what point does innovation come in where, like, you get like Nintendo, where they try and be innovative? Yes. Anyways, they try and do that, and they come out with the Wii and the Wii U, and those were a radical change in the way that people do things, with especially controls. But I'm tired of wagging my arms just to play Zelda.
Yeah, they weren't very good for a lot of people, though. They were innovative, but not for us.
They got a lot of attention, to say the least.
They did, and it's tough to see someone innovate for someone else when they could be innovating for you. Why don't pay more attention to me? Me is all that matters here, right? I don't know. I guess Nintendo's a good point. I don't really get Nintendo anymore.
Yeah. Well, I saw this. I was watching this thing. It was talking about innovation in video games, and it brought up Nintendo and like the Mario series, and the highest-selling Mario ones are in a way just kind of the same as the original Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
When they do something new like Mario World, Mario Sunshine, and they go 3D or just outside of that typical same platforminess, it doesn't sell nearly as well. And so we claim to say that we want innovation, but when they say, here's something new, Mario Sunshine, we're like, no, we don't want this. This isn't where's my 2D platforming that I love, that I want to be new, but the same.
It
So
depends,
it's kind of it could be a tough thing trying to create something different, but yet still hold on to the fan base and the people and have them enjoy what you're doing instead of just turn their back on you, kind of like we all did with the Wii U.
Well, what did Deus Ex do
What do you mean, what did it do?
when they did Human Revolution?
They improved.
Yeah.
They didn't do Invisible.
I don't know. I'm generally asking as a question because I never played
Yeah.
the first, but
It was completely different team for starters.
Yeah.
It was just different people working on it all together, because the original Deus Ex was Ion Storm, correct?
It was.
Yes.
Yes.
but did it succeed in giving you innovation?
Oh God, no.
Oh boy, Deus Ex, yeah.
Oh no, not Human Revolution, but the
Okay.
first one, yes.
Well, yeah.
The first one, yes. Human Revolution was Human Revolution was, in its way, well, it wasn't. It didn't have an awful lot to do with the first game. It had an awful lot to do with the people who loved the first game. It didn't recreate it. It was never going to be possible. If it did, no one would like it. The broader population wouldn't like it.
The first one is definitely a product. It's in a way almost like a time capsule where it is of that time, and like it could not be redone. It cannot be.
I don't really think it
HD remade. I don't think it would really work with the way that we play games now. I don't know.
That doesn't have to be true. That really doesn't have to be true. If I know that this isn't the best comparison in the world, okay? So give me a little leeway. But if a game like Deus Ex has no place in the world, then neither does a game like The Witcher. The Witcher's not a product of the 90s. It kind of seems like it is, right? It borrows an awful lot of those design sensibilities, but it isn't. It's a very modern game.
Yeah.
It's a game rooted in the now, but it's awkward and strange. It uses unfamiliar systems. It's not ashamed to be a little bit different in its story and presentation. Its lore is very particular. And it has no problem existing now. It is still, I don't know if niche is the right word, but it's a small market of people who really flock to it and cling to it as an example of great gaming. But overall, so is Dark Souls. So is the entire Souls series. And it's an excellent example of how to satisfy a particular need. You could absolutely do something like Deus Ex now. You absolutely could. I think it's a...
Whether you get the critical acclaim and the profit off is...
Well, that's a problem. I don't care about their... I mean, I'm not being obtuse here. I'm just trying to explain my position. I don't care about their critical acclaim. I don't care about their need to be massively popular, whoever they are.
Yeah.
I don't care. I want it. That's all I want. But yeah, Human Revolution wasn't all it did. It was a love note. That's all it was. It was familiar enough, different enough, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, kind of like how Lords of Shadow is to the Castlevania series. It's like, these are people who enjoyed it. Here's our take on it. And that's pretty much what Human Revolution was for Deus Ex as well.
I was just trying to find something that fit Matt's example. That wasn't a Mario title, but something that was...
that fails every time it innovates?
More modern in the sense that either fit his example or broke the example. That was outside of the Mario universe. Mario's had a ton of games to do that with. And I was trying to find something more, it's odd to say broader in that sense when you're talking about a Nintendo title, because it's...
I can think of other
Nintendo
Nintendo properties, which, like the 2D, the 3D Zelda gets a lot of... The 3D Zelda still do well, but they do get a lot of flack from like fans of the 2D ones. Metroid.
The Metroid series.
Metroid Prime.
Sonic the Hedgehog, I think of right now.
Oh
yeah, that's a good example.
Sonic and Sonic Adventure. Because it's just, I don't know, man.
I think that innovation is overrated. I think that people have convinced themselves that every step must be a revolutionary step or an innovative step. That if you do anything, every step you take must be disturbing to what came before it. You must do something more. You have to get faster or bigger or more incredible. The explosions have to be bigger. The graphics have to be supremely better. And you must innovate in some way. But you can't. You can't. It's a frustrating thing, but you can't. Innovation is incredibly hard, and it's supremely expensive. Trying to even figure out which direction you should go. It's not fair. Sometimes more of the same is actually perfectly fine. People say they want innovation, but more of the same is what sells. And we're really at odds with... We're at odds with ourselves over that. I don't think there's anything wrong with just sticking to a formula that works for a while.
Yeah, well, I mean, think Super Mario Brothers, the Super Mario Brothers 2, which still did great because you only had like 5 games to choose from at the rental store.
Yeah.
And then you go to Super Mario Bros. 3, which is more has more added on to the original Mario Brothers game, and it's just, but people remember Mario Brothers 3 a lot more. Mario Brothers 2 still gets there, but it's like Mario Brothers 3 is like, this is what the NES was about.
Right.
Oh yeah, I know that song.
I'm just not saying anything so that could stand out as being creepy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyway,
Thank you for the Monkey Island.
this was the song I was talking about going out of the break with rather than coming into it. When we come back, we'll have more of in-game chat. We'll have the second hour, and don't forget your phone calls. You can call in 334-272-9228. Don't let us have Matt in the booth for nothing. Call us 334-272-9228. We'll be back with the second hour of in-game chat in just a moment. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Music from Homeworld, which pretty much everybody in here again knew, and I did not.
I can't wait for the
Not the only
remake of that.
Yeah, true. Me and RJ.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know either. I actually haven't played Homeworld.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was
Wow.
a
Well,
wonderful
here,
game.
These three.
What?
Yeah, I
me,
know.
RJ, and Dennis here have now played Homeworld.
The infidels outnumber the true believers for once.
Never.
Nope.
Man, that game.
It was-
Game.
It was great.
That game was
I've
really
heard
good.
like 1,000,001 stories about it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
Dennis,
it was-
luckily you'll be able to play it pretty soon because they'll be re-releasing it.
They're
Yeah,
the
Gearbox.
Gearbox is doing their re-release
Super
with
high
the
def ultra remake.
yeah. That's
something.
too many. That's too many adjectives.
It's not a Street Fighter game.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it's got. Do we have a date on that? Do you know? Is there a date?
Not,
think
they just say sometime towards the end of the year
Ah,
or summertime. That I've been
which
looking
those
for an
aren't
actual
the same
date.
thing at all.
That's a broad range, right?
Whenever
there.
they feel like it.
Yeah, basically. But I've been looking for an actual date, and so far nothing. Because as soon as it does come out, I want to. I want that. It'll. If you, they're talking about having it come with a 12-inch statue of your mothership, as one of the options, and for the like collector's edition, because I really want that for my desk.
Yeah, that'd be all right. it's only going to be Homeworld and Homeworld 2. You can have the original and the remastered versions. They're not going to have Cataclysm.
Cataclysm,
They do
yeah.
not have rights to Cataclysm somehow, for some reason.
Really?
I don't know exactly why that's the case, but it is the case, unfortunately. It was a different studio that did Cataclysm. They were doing that while they worked on Homeworld 2.
That's
But
interesting.
I don't make any effort whatsoever to play it before then. I think an HD modernized remaster is kind of important. It's incredibly.
You think it's kind of showing its age now?
Cataclysm was done by Barking Dog
Oh, okay.
and published by Sierra, who
Right.
did the original.
I just don't understand why they don't have the rights. Why they didn't get the rights when they bought the rights to do the remaster and re-release. But
Not sure.
it's neither here nor there. When it comes out on HD, I recommend it highly, very, very, very highly. Not only because, I mean, I'm not even a big strategy gamer. We should point out for anybody that doesn't know, it is space strategy. It's not a combat thing. It's about managing an entire fleet, and it's strategy and simulation in 3 dimensions. So.
Okay.
Is it something like Eve or something completely different?
I tell you, you could look at it and think that it is built like Eve, but it isn't. You're actually, much like any other strategy game, you're governing an entire, the whole, not an army essentially, but one whole fleet in this case, the mothership and dozens of other ships at the same time. So, from resource harvesters to frigates, carriers, individual fighter groups, things like that. So it was incredibly cool, had a wonderful story, one of the best soundtracks.
The story
ever
for the
heard.
original one was amazing. The booklet that came with it, the instruction booklet, had this whole backstory of why, your race is going into the stars.
Anytime you
And
ever
it was
go into a
fascinating.
gaming forum and somebody pops up with a thread saying like, what are your favorite game manuals? Like we all miss game manuals because they don't really exist anymore, and
Mhm.
post pictures of your favorite game manuals from the past every single time. The original Homeworld manual will make it in because it contains the entire appended fiction.
Yeah,
for the
Blizzard
game.
was really good about that. in their
Blizzard was
manuals.
really, really good about that.
Diablo
So is
and StarCraft.
So is it a book instead of not really a manual, but a book? You said
It was a
Like
it was a
it's
couple of
it-
pages.
like
it
you
is-
could put it together with the staple. You had to put the seam on the outside. That type.
Oh no, it's
No.
it's a full, probably. It is still a video game manual,
Yes.
but it is more like a primer on the culture and the backstory
Okay.
of how things came to be the way they were. But it was written completely inside of the fictional world. It wasn't talking about things like they were video games. It was talking about it like it was a manual to help you understand the circumstances.
Almost like it was a
the
history
video game.
lesson.
in a way, yeah.
The other, I'm trying to remember, there was another one that was really good at that. That
Ultima.
had that. Ultima?
All the Ultima games had like really comprehensive manuals, cloth maps. It was like Origin and Infocom were the ones known for like all the feelies they would include inside a box.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I was thinking about, Clive Barker's Undying. The whole,
Really?
yeah, it had a whole big story about the whole family and everything.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I have it somewhere. I still have it somewhere. I'll have to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. of
But
course
no,
they
it
do,
did.
but-
It was it was talking about the family, the history, the craziness on the island. It was much like the
I
Homeworld.
remember the game quite well. I wonder if I had somebody else's copy of that game.
I'm not sure.
Borrowed it because I don't remember any of the packet materials. But whatever.
Hmm.
That's neither here nor there because it doesn't happen anymore.
No,
But in any case, it's, I wouldn't say blasphemous, but it is certainly a crime that anybody actually missed out on that kind of game. You don't have to be a real big fan of strategy. It's
was it a 4X style game or
no,
no? Okay.
no, it was not. It was not 4X. It was no, it wasn't. It was mission and story driven.
Okay.
But all of the combat was done in traditional strategy, like using traditional strategy mechanisms.
Okay.
But it was not a 4X game. It was
Because you say that and like what pops in my mind is kind of like Master of Orion 2 or something.
yeah, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was had an incredibly strong narrative. It was all linear missions that took place in different environments.
Okay.
So it was in the simplest terms, it was Battlestar Galactica. Really, it was a band of survivors that had been driven off of their planet, who learned that they actually came from somewhere else, and they were taking what little bit remained of their civilization, all of which had been put to work creating this fleet, this mothership that would carry all of their people back to their homeworld. And it was the journey both back to their homeworld and the attempt to avoid the people that had exiled them, I guess I should say. Really, really strong story.
The space combat was fun just to watch. You could like zoom in on like an individual ship as it's zooming around and fighting, and to me it kind of felt like later on, bringing this all back to Star Wars, Empire at War kind of did that with the theater mode, where you could just like sit back and watch the space battles. But I remember watching you doing that with Homeworld, back in the day as well. You just let them tell them, hey, go sick that guy. You just sit back and just watch him as this one little guy's flying around.
Yeah, it was really neat. It was an incredibly neat game. It was perfect for its time. It wasn't ahead of its time, but it was perfect for its time. And it's not as impressive now. If you try to go back and reload it, it isn't.
Kind of like going back and looking at any Dark Engine game.
Yeah, it just looks poor. It looks a little bit poor. Texture resolutions aren't high enough. So, I don't know. Fantastic game though. And assuming that the HD remasters work the way they're supposed to, I'd be really excited to have more of more people in the world, just in general, play it. Because Homeworld was, 99 as well, right? Was it another product of the greatest year in PC gaming?
It was September '99.
Okay. Good times. It was really, really good. And I never actually got to finish Homeworld 2, so I'll be excited to play that again.
In HD.
And I'm hoping HD and fully functional and not just, a quick grab. But I don't know. We'll see soon enough.
Well, what else happened in the week since I've been...
Everybody played Diablo.
Yes.
I figured
Diablo
that was the
3.
case of everything that was being played.
I am like 2 levels away from 70.
I can't.
Or one
I
level.
can't do this again. I can't do this again this week.
Really? You're still not 70?
I only get to play for like short amount of time because my work has been so incredibly busy and heavy. So
And he's been playing Goat Simulator.
just a little bit, yes, but we'll get to that.
Okay, have you gotten to level 70 in Goat Simulator?
I did get the Michael Bay achievement. If you explode the gas station,
I was about
big
to say, it had to be
fireball.
something with explosions.
Yeah.
Of course, it's gonna have
Huge
to be.
fireball. It just says Michael Bay, then it says the end. So, but no, I haven't been able to play Diablo as much as I want. So I can just do it here and there. I'll be able to like clear out one little area of the map, go to the next load area, and then try and play that later on.
And you are playing on Master, right?
I actually went down to Expert.
Okay, fair enough.
They're doing another XP bonus this weekend
Yeah, that's right. 50% XP bonus this weekend. So
through Monday.
Okay, good.
Definitely get on there.
I have
Go
Monday
ahead and
off. I'll be able to
get your
play it
next
then.
Level, so that way you can get legendaries that are actually worthwhile.
That's what I'm hoping
Now, this
for.
is what? This is a bit of a community... I mean, it's a community event is what they call it, but it is a, I guess, celebration for their 2.7 million
2.7 million Reaper
sales.
souls.
That's not too bad. It's not nearly as good as... I mean, it's a decent attach rate. It's not nearly as high as the initial sales, but I think it's a lot better than people were expecting it to be, given how much
Well, just given
sentiment had turned against Diablo 3
Yeah.
in the last couple of years. They made up an awful lot of
Yeah, the
ground.
little bit that I've seen on the reception of it has just been wonderful praise. Praise all around, actually, for everything that they've done with it. Not just this new stuff, but was it Loot 3.0? Is that what it's called?
Loot 2.0.
2.0.
The 2.0?
Yeah, I'm not going to suggest it's
We
without
talked about it,
flaws.
but yeah.
It is without flaws, and there's certainly a lot to be said against the game as it is right now without any kind of market or trading.
Yeah, no player economy. to speak
No
of.
player economy, no ability to trade either inside of the game or outside of the game. It's disappointing. It's a little frustrating, and I think just about anybody can understand why it's this way. Not just because of the way that things worked in Diablo 2, but because of how they have worked for the last 2 years in Diablo 3. setting aside that difficulty, and it is a huge problem for some people, and I would never fault someone for being disinterested in the current Diablo 3 because of it. There are an awful lot of people who really enjoyed playing that economy, and that's not something that's possible right now.
Yeah, it just doesn't exist. I understand people essentially playing the market in the video game.
I love playing markets in video games. It's really, really fun to do, and it's really fun to constantly be on the search for a piece of gear that works perfectly with a build or a character type or a class that you're interested in playing, but you yourself can't come across it. Maybe you've got something that fits into a hole somebody else has, right? You've got a chess piece or a weapon or a ring or an amulet that someone else can use. It's worth you putting that on the market while you also search for a rare or unique piece of gear that's going to help you with a particular build that you're doing. This also plays in part to the fact that Diablo 3's method of actually building your class. You know, when we talk about a build, it's how you choose to allocate your skill points, your talent points. It's how you choose to design a character with what abilities they're going to have and what skills you give them to use. Diablo 2, that was
all the various skill trees.
It was all of those skill trees, but it was essentially, it was effectively permanent.
Yeah, there was no way. I think
I think there was a way to
respec,
respec, but it was prohibitively. I don't know. I didn't play once. I didn't play past the point where that was added. But a lot of the argument is that was essential. Whatever your character was adhering to a plan for a specific design. And that's what they were. You didn't change things. You didn't deviate from it. You couldn't. So finding gear specific to a build made your character very, very unique. We lose that in favor of flexibility and experimentation. So I don't think 3 is going to have anything like the long legs that Diablo 2 had for that very reason. But setting that aside, it's an awful lot of fun. It's giving people pretty much everything they wanted in this expansion.
I'll say it's not something they probably want to have a long running period for, especially since
maybe not.
The only income they get is from their initial sale. Now,
so far, that's absolutely true since they shut down the auction house. We will get another expansion pack, and they will do a lot of content patches. So I don't know what's in the future of it, but the present is very fun. It's an awful lot of fun to do adventure mode runs. I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm enjoying handing down bounties. I haven't tried the rifts yet.
Rifts are fine. They're a change of pace. You know, it's essentially just a pointless slaughter until you fight the boss, but that's okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that as long as it drops legendaries. I don't really care. But it's good, and it's been actually very, very hard to tear myself away from it to play anything else. So I bought Elder Scrolls.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. Remember you telling me that over.
So
I
you
bought
did
buy
buy
that.
it, huh?
Yeah, I shouldn't have.
You look kind of upset
You
about
look a little
that.
regretting there.
What was that I
No,
said?
it's
What
not.
was that I
Stomachache.
said? I was like, you just can't help yourself, can you?
No, it's
MMO comes out, he's gonna buy it.
Was it because it was MMO or because it was Elder Scrolls?
No, it's because it was both.
Okay.
It was because it was both things.
He's an MMO guy, so
Oh, no, I'm well
mean,
aware.
I play them all. I like to know what the status of every MMO currently going is.
Well, not just that, but we've had this discussion before. You have to be in day one.
Yeah, being in day one is very, very different from picking up late. All of the people want to pick it up 6 months from now when it goes free to play or whatever else. That's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But being a part of an MMO on launch day and really trying to drink as much of it as you can in that first 30 days of subscription time that you don't have to pay for.
looks
or
like you
that-
woke up the chat room.
Yeah.
But you're also no slouch to the Elder Scrolls universe. I know you've been in there.
No,
for,
I enjoy it quite a bit.
yeah, quite a while. Like the most of us here.
I am not filled with regret. That's not the face I was making.
Okay.
It's mostly that I could not bear the thought of knowing for myself. Right? We have played many betas, and people have had many bad things to say about the game after all of those betas, but that's not enough for me. I can't know until I've had my own experience. I really can't. I think it's unfortunate that, like Star Wars The Old Republic, they've hidden an awful lot of great storytelling and great lore behind an MMO. I will tell you very clearly that I too would have preferred, as much as I like MMOs, I really would have preferred if this had just been another mainline Elder Scrolls game.
Is there a way to play it as just like the campaign by yourself?
It's as much as
Ish.
any other MMO. It functions pretty much the same as anything else. You can do 99% of the story content on your own without anybody else, which essentially ruins the entire concept of it being an MMO in the first place. It doesn't need to be. This game, less than anything else, needs to be an MMO. But it is, and there you go. And I play MMOs and I play Elder Scrolls games. So it's not so much about being a slave to what they want me to do. It's that I'm not going to come on the show and say good things or bad things about it without having experienced it for myself.
Yeah.
And I play MMOs. I play almost everything that's available, at least for a month. It's something I do. Nobody else here is going to do
fair
that.
shake.
And I like them in general, conceptually. And this one is, it's awkward. It's very strange. It's very, very strange. I will tell you that I believe it takes the worst parts of both things. I've said this before.
Yeah.
I believe it is the worst parts of MMOs mixed with the worst parts of Elder Scrolls. And I don't think that makes it a failure. I think there are things in it that are very interesting. I believe they've done an awful lot to instill it with some sense of consequence. It's comparing it directly to Diablo 3, where I can change my skill set and my gear set pretty much at will. This game is a lot more fixed in terms of how you build your character, but you have an awful lot of options for how you can do it. There are, for people that enjoy playing in a fantasy style MMO, this is interesting. At the very, very least, it's incredibly interesting. I'm playing a sorcerer, which typically is a magic using casting class.
Yeah.
But I can do that as a cloth wearing, staff wielding Gandalf type of guy. But I can also put on medium armor and do something a little bit different. Be a little more melee oriented, a little more movement oriented, and not play so much from a distance. I can put on heavy armor and grab an axe and a shield and be a battle mage if I want to. All within my own class without doing anything too extraordinary. Just deciding exactly how I want to distribute my skills and how I choose to play my character, which then focuses how you level up.
Okay, so you do have an actual class in this?
You do have a
In this
class,
case?
but the amount of flexibility within the class is incredible. You
Okay.
are still limited to class skills, right? But, instead of saying, I'm a sorcerer, sorcerers have these skills, and this is all I'll ever be able to do. Right, I can maybe tweak exactly how he builds himself. Do I want destruction style magic, or do I want summoning style magic? Right,
Okay.
those are the options within the class. But there are skills for every armor type that give you bonuses based on what you're doing. Right, magicka or mana regen, or cost reduction. There are racial skills that, again, you have to spend points and spec into. There are skills for every single weapon type available to every single class. So if I want to do a little bit of healing, say, but I don't want to spend class points learning to do restoration stuff, I can spend them on points that are specific to a weapon type, a restoration style weapon, that'll allow me to simply swap weapons out and, be a little bit of a healer. It's yes. See, the face you're making is the face I made for like 2 days after playing the game, because it's not obvious, it's not simple, it doesn't hold your hand quite as well as other games do. It presents you with lots of opportunities to make bad decisions, and I respect that. I respect that more than a little bit, because it means they're giving you plenty of opportunities to experiment and create something that isn't quite like what anyone else is creating. If your interest is in building a class very much to your own tastes in this style of game, they've done an excellent job. I think the combat and the animations are sophomoric. It doesn't look good. It doesn't play particularly smooth. It's as uncomfortable and unpolished in all of those fine details as every Elder Scrolls game for the last 10 years has been. It really is. And it's an Elder Scrolls game. You really want to play it in first person, but it can't be played in, I mean, it can. It absolutely can, but it's an MMO. The combat is around you all of the time. Having that awareness of everything that's going on around you, you know, in front, the sides, behind, all of that stuff. It really should be played in third person, but it's not very comfortable in third person, like all of the Elder Scrolls games for the last 10 years. So it's very strange, man. It's a really strange mix of two entirely different things. But I don't want to say there's a lot to recommend it, because I don't think there is. And I haven't gotten to play the PvP yet, which is faction-based PvP.
Okay, Alliance versus Horde type thing.
3-faction. Daggerfall, Aldmeri, and Ebonheart. The Ebonheart Pact, the Aldmeri Dominion, and the Daggerfall Alliance.
Interesting.
All three of them fighting against each other. I appreciate a lot of the restrictions the game has in place. I appreciate a lot of the freedoms that the game has given people. I really do. I think it is underdone by a lot. I think they made an awful lot of mistakes trying to make it feel like an Elder Scrolls game. They simply should have submitted to the realities of making an MMO, or they should have submitted to the numbers of people that would have bought in droves another mainline Elder Scrolls game, which I know they're doing one. I know that it isn't either or, but no, it's not going to do particularly well. I think it was probably, I'm not sure what the numbers were. I think it's very expensive to make. I don't think it's going to even come remotely close to making that money back. I think people are being a little bit unfair when they start dancing on its grave already, but I don't think they're wrong. I don't think it's going to be able to maintain a subscription at all. So it's a slow leveling game if you don't already know what you're doing. So it isn't particularly good for casual people. The combat is a little bit unfortunate in some respects. So unless you're willing to kind of grit your teeth and get through it, you're not going to enjoy it there at all. It's incredibly story driven, incredibly so. But why do I have to be in a world with 200,000 other people for that to happen? Like I said, it's the worst of both things. Hasn't prevented me from enjoying it somewhat, though. So I will not be paying a subscription fee, though, at least not now.
Well, there you go. His thoughts on the MMO, Elder Scrolls, which, like he said, he told me, he's an MMO guy. He's going to do it. So I really wasn't surprised that he bought it. It just sort of solidified the fact that, well, if there's going to be an MMO, he's going to get his try into it. But I like your reasoning. I got to know for myself.
Yeah.
I got to know for myself. Anyway, when we come back, we will have the final segment of In-Game Chat. If you would like to be a part of that final segment, you can call us 334-272-9228. That is 334-272-9228. We'll be right back after this. Here's music from Hotline Miami. And welcome back to In-Game Chat, music from Mass Effect 2. As we head into the final segment of the show, if you'd like to get in touch with us, our number is 334-272-9228, 334-272-9228. Well, just as we were coming back, we were looking at some of the news items here to talk about, and oddly enough, Dennis says we should talk about Titanfall, and James agreed with him. I don't know. What is there to talk about Titanfall?
Well,
The 360 version.
comes out Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Right, but it was originally supposed to be out like a couple of weeks
Got
ago.
delayed, yeah.
It got delayed back in February, and it had a specific date. And then just kind of started getting close to it, and that date came and went, and we didn't have another specific date. I mean, now we do,
Yeah.
right? We have the 8th, but it was... I had brought this up before, that I didn't particularly care for my time with it on the PC. I mean, it was fine. It was okay, but it didn't...
Didn't
know.
get its hooks in you.
It didn't really do anything for me, but I wanted to spend an awful lot more time with it. I just didn't. I don't know. I didn't want to buy it. I didn't want to pick it up. I don't have an Xbox One on which to rent it, so I was actually really excited about the 360 version. A, because it's something I could either get through GameFly or through Redbox, and I could spend, hopefully, a genuine amount of time with it, so that I could, really come to terms with how I felt about it, instead of just kind of having a trial period with it in the midst of everybody's unbelievable enthusiasm for it. Just, play the game. So, knowing that it was coming out on the 360, I thought that probably wouldn't be too bad a thing. Also knowing that the game isn't any kind of, I don't know, it's not terribly demanding. So it isn't the sort of thing I imagine will be hindered greatly by being on the 360. And again, that's my imagination. I don't know for sure. And it would be easier if there was any kind of pre-release material about it, but nobody's talked about it. Microsoft has said essentially nothing about the game. So,
Yeah, the Blue Point Games, who's developing the 360 version, one of the producers came out and basically said it is going to be everything you expect from it. It's going to run above 30 FPS. It's going to have everything that the Xbox One and PC versions Titanfall have in it. And
which sounds very, very good, not just for myself, but for the numbers and numbers of people who don't have a gaming PC and still haven't upgraded to an Xbox One. My guess is there's probably an enormous number of people who are, at this point, probably really excited to play it on the 360. I don't know. And like I said, I don't like playing things on the old gen consoles now. I'm kind of moving beyond that. But I don't know. Like, I wasn't happy with everybody's boiling enthusiasm for the game right around the time that it came out. It felt very strange to me. Like, you couldn't criticize the game in certain circles for anything at all without people getting upset at you because they had already championed the game as the greatest thing that's ever happened. Whatever. I don't want to get into that. It's not fair to either side. The point is, unless I was going to buy it on the PC, I wasn't going to be able to spend a significant amount of time with it, and I just didn't want to do it. Multiplayer PC games as a spur of MMOs. It is something that I enjoy immensely. I have always enjoyed, and I will almost always chase it, always, to see if it's worth my time. I don't like other people's opinions about divisive games, and wherever possible, I will buy and play the divisive game myself, because I don't want to get caught up in somebody else's hang-ups. I want to know for sure how something weighs against all the other things that it's been compared to. It's why I play MMOs the way I do. Nobody else is going to, and I don't expect them to. And it's the same thing with online competitive shooters. There are legions of people who cannot stand them, who think that they are the absolute dregs of modern gaming. But I love them too. I have always loved them. I love being in matches with random people on the internet. It doesn't bother me at all. So, but anyway, the point is I really wanted to spend time with it for myself, to see for myself. But I didn't think that wasn't a good piece of timing, being able to pick it up on the PC. I couldn't find a very good deal unless I went, bought it from the cartel or whatever you did. Usually finding a good
and
deal.
then they came and took my kidneys, so.
Yeah. Yeah, finding a good deal on something like an MMO can often be a little bit easier. But anyway, in this case, I didn't get Titanfall. I'm really looking forward to it on the 360. And I'm even more interested now, I suppose, because they haven't had anything to say about it. So Tuesday, I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to playing it and just sort of sitting down and zoning out with it, which is what I need to do to get comfortable with it.
I don't know if I'm going to pick it up or not.
Well, again, I fully expect to be able to Redbox it.
Yeah,
So,
and that's
I
probably what
couldn't
I'll end up
afford to
doing
buy
if
it
I
any
am.
more than I could really afford to buy it on the PC.
Did I
so don't
read
see-
about Redbox
Supposedly,
starting very soon to start stocking the next gen
PS4,
titles?
Xbox One, and
Yeah,
do they don't stock Wii U, do they?
I have
As
no.
right
I
now.
don't know.
I think that was the other.
I just know
but
they don't stock
all,
my-
all it is just rumors right now. There's
Okay.
no, Redbox has not like.
I could have sworn I thought
confirmed
I'd
that.
read an article, but
Yeah, I think it was on our show notes like a week or two ago.
I've had
but it was
some really
just
weird
rumor.
dreams the past couple of weeks or past couple of days. So yeah, strange stuff that I've woken up to and thought either was real or something I read previous that had happened. So that could have been one of those fever dreams.
They take out an organ and the world is a better place.
They give me those drugs and the world is a better place. Let me tell you. Whoa, man, that was good. Again, I haven't played anything, or really. In fact, I had plans. I had so many plans this weekend as far as gaming was concerned. I planned to do my good run through Infamous. James was bringing over Metal Gear Solid for PS4, so I could get some time in with that
Okay.
and try that out because I'd played it on the Xbox One.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
there
supposed to be
were,
a.
I was gonna say for the Metal Gear Solid 5, they have a app for your phone or your device and everything. It'll act kind of like the Assassin's Creed 4 companion app did. So if you're gonna play through that, that might be something you might want to look into. It'll keep the map open and everything. Just as a way,
Okay. I see.
like sort of like that integration and everything
yeah.
makes it kind of different. I'm glad that more games are starting to. It seems like games are starting to do stuff like this. So
It seems like games are starting to design a reason to do that.
yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
solution looking for a
Yeah,
problem, I guess.
it's kind of what you want the Wii U to do, but
I think.
Without having a
they
Wii U.
most-
I don't
yeah.
know. I enjoyed the little what's it on my phone when I was playing Assassin's Creed. Not the map. I didn't have any problem opening the map on my console.
Mhm.
I didn't have any problem going to the map. I didn't feel terribly inconvenienced. But it was really nice to send my ships out.
Yeah, that was good part of it. The other part was checking my treasure maps and going and finding where the ones I'd found that I hadn't opened up that part of the land yet.
Uh-huh.
And then to be like, oh, okay, I know where that is. I can just fast travel over there to it or whatever. I used it for that purpose, but I didn't use it as a map itself when I was playing the game. I always used the in-game map whenever I wanted to go somewhere. I don't know. It's just more natural to do it that way, I suppose. I'm not sure.
It's what you're used to, and also it's kind of like looking at the GPS map when you're trying to drive around, I guess.
I think so. Difficult.
It's like I'm kind of doing something else. I can't look at this right now.
Right, yeah.
So games pause? Fine.
But yeah, that's how I felt about that. But I had plans to do that. Obviously, this coming week I have plans to play Wolf Among Us, episode 3 getting released.
That's right. Episode 3 comes out soon.
This week, and
Hopefully, some Walking Dead season 2 episode 3 will come out soon, because I could use some more of that.
yeah, you'll get that. Apparently, they seem to be on a better pace, where it's once a month or once. What was it? February we got. Wait a second. When did we get episode
Episode 2 we got like just a few weeks ago.
of Walking Dead?
Yeah,
Yeah. So they seem to be.
they seem to be on a tighter schedule than they have been in the past,
Right,
particularly
yeah.
with Wolf Among Us.
Especially with the first episode of those, they were a little bit behind. But then now it seems to be this month, April, we'll get Wolf Among Us, and then sometime probably late May we'll get Walking Dead. So
At some point, Game of Thrones will start up, and then Tales of the Borderlands and all their other, pretty much any kind of point-and-click adventure you want Telltale to do, they'll do now.
So here's a question with about 15 minutes left in the show. Somebody wants to learn how to use a controller. They've never learned how to use a controller before. They don't know. They look at a controller like a completely foreign object. How do you teach them?
Man,
Put one in their hands and have them play with it.
What do you have them play?
Anything.
One,
I mean,
360,
it's-
360, Xbox One, PS4.
No, game. What do you have them play?
Oh, what them have them play?
That's what I'm saying. It's not that, but what do you have them play? as far as how to get the feel of a controller.
So something that uses
It's very-
everything and everything. D-pad,
Yeah, it's very
analog,
strange to
buttons,
think about.
Triggers, troggers, everything.
Because when I'm going through this process, I'm like, oh God, how did I learn? I don't remember how I learned.
No,
You,
I
you picked
tell
it
you
up
how
and
you
hit
learned. You picked
buttons
it up and
till
played it.
something
Yeah.
happened.
That's
What
how
was
you
the
did it.
first thing you picked up? What was the first controller you used?
Atari.
Same here.
Nintendo.
ColecoVision.
Something with one or
A
two
buttons.
buttons?
Right, yeah.
A simple
11.
four-way D-pad?
A
Yeah.
D-pad and two buttons.
Or the classic Atari joystick with the
Yeah.
the
Had
stick
a,
that holds it and the one button.
A square box with an analog stick, 2 troggers on the side, and a number pad underneath
Right.
it. That was my first controller.
If I were going to suggest, honestly, if I were going to
Yeah.
suggest, and I have actually thought about this a little bit because you and I talked about it,
Mhm.
putting a 360 controller in the hands of somebody who doesn't have any concept of using a controller, right? And it's not just a controller. I mean, a keyboard isn't even just a keyboard. All of these different interfaces require you to develop a different set of reflexes and a slightly different way of interfacing with something. It's all the basics are still there. It's a stick or a D-pad and some buttons. But you start with a D-pad and the buttons. Find a way to put the... you do a remedial course.
yeah.
You put maybe not the 8-bit Nintendo, but the Super Nintendo controller
Yeah.
in their hand. It's very, very simple. It's got all the concepts kind of there with the exception of analog. But it's got the D-pad, it's got 4 face buttons and 2 shoulder buttons.
Yeah. yeah.
Just enough to engage kind of all of those abilities, but not being terribly complicated. And none of the games are going to be terribly complicated. So you learn the concept of here's the pad, here's the buttons, here's the simple things that happen on the screen.
Maybe like a platformer first, and then work your way up to a.
Take one of the best controllers ever made and put them in front of one of the best games ever made. Play Mario.
Yeah, Mario World. And that's the thing, it's got great responsiveness to your actions when you're playing
Mhm.
with controller. You know, you hit this button and clearly this action happens. And getting that that responsiveness to what you're pushing on the controller, I think is like the most important thing to look at for as far as teaching somebody how to use it.
I think if you can play. I think if you can get good at a D-pad just playing a platformer, then there's functionally no major difference between that and the any like major simulation setup, really, as long as it's still acting like a controller. The biggest problem is in, I want the guy on screen to jump and then move over this way, and just you don't think about it. None of us think about it. Nobody who plays games thinks about what they want to do. They just, you let the control scheme kind of become a party, and you just have to practice. But you need to start somewhere remedial, because we all did. For the most part, we started with simple games, relatively simple games, on
Were those-
relatively simple controllers.
Were those controllers pressure sensitive?
No,
No, not at all. Okay.
No, not until was it PS2 that had pressure?
I think so. I
sensitive?
think that's the first one I'm aware of.
That's
There
the
could
first
have
one
been
I know.
something else, but yeah,
No, Dreamcast was.
Maybe
Were
like
they?
one.
Dreamcast?
the face buttons. The face
I was
buttons were
talking about
pressure
the- I'm talking
sensitive.
about the triggers.
Oh, the analog
things.
triggers.
Yeah, triggers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that would be the first one, wouldn't it?
I think the best suggestion that you had given me when we talked about this, James, was sit him down and give him the controller and just let him play Gone Home. Which
Yeah, Gone Home works for exploration and getting.
it gives you an idea of this controller moves your legs, and this controller moves your point of view. How do I go in this direction?
And plus, the great thing about that game is like the way the story plays out. You don't have to be, if it's your first time really doing this, you don't have to worry about like oh my gosh, there's the big monster from
Well, no, that
Amnesia
was the
trying to
whole-
kill
that was-
me, or
yeah,
you
that
can
was the
play
whole
at your own
point. Was that there
pace.
was no
external
pressure.
threat.
Yeah, there was
there's no
nothing.
snap. There's no snap decisions
Yeah.
you got to do in a
Yeah.
heartbeat. in
Yeah,
that
because
game?
my
Okay.
first thought was like, Portal seems safe enough. Not obviously more the advanced level type thing.
I'll say in the advanced levels you have to have some good timing.
But Portal
The
seems
Portal
safe enough
starts you
to
off
say,
slow,
yeah,
and it builds
Yeah.
up with the skill sets.
it does.
So-
And I'm not looking to have them master Portal. I've only ever played that game once,
Same here.
and I wonder sometimes if I could do it again as good as I did it the first time in some of those later levels. But because I can tell you some of the levels that the community came up with were mind-bending with how those things had to work. But I'm fascinated by that sort of thing. But yeah, it's something that is just simple that gets the movement down of how 3D first-person movement works
Okay.
with analog sticks. And then go from there. And I thought Gone Home, Dear Esther, maybe, I don't know, I haven't played Dear Esther, but something that is lacking of any sort of pressure or anything like that, but then can still give you the familiarity of the movement that you need to do. So that was my thought. So anyway, a lot of good suggestions there to start way back when, and go, a lot like we did, but Mario being a great example of that. So, what comes out? You get Titanfall and the 360.
I'm
And
going to try to get a hold of it.
right, trying to do that. I don't know of anything. I haven't been paying to a release schedule, so I have no idea what's due out. Didn't the Batman game release this past week?
Was it
Blackgate.
that Blackgate.
The
game
Blackgate
wasn't a
game.
mobile
For,
game at
PC.
first.
Yeah. I was curious about that, but man, I just have not been. Haven't even fired up Steam since I got out of the hospital, so I don't know. Just haven't been too into anything. I haven't played. I got a lot of little tiny crap on an iPad and iPhone. I haven't done anything with that either. It's just not been in my ability to want to use my brain too much. Just let me lay here and enjoy this and sleep and not hurt.
I got over the weekend. Last week I got gifted a copy of Goat Simulator by one of our listeners, and that is a lot of fun. It is just stupid fun, but totally worth the $10 for anyone out there that just wants just to run around and just destroy things as a goat. It's worth buying, I think.
Is it resource heavy on the PC?
I don't think it is. I mean, my PC handles it, and my PC's a little old.
Did it teach you to be a better goat like GTA is supposed to teach you how to be a
Murder simulator.
murderous person?
Yeah.
Do you find yourself eating tin cans at night?
And yes, and now I also realize goats are murderous creatures that just like headbutting everything. But
That's been my experience.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's filled with glitches and bugs, but the developers say that only the game-breaking ones are the ones they're going to fix. Everything else is just fun. So it's very silly and cheap.
Yeah, I've watched streams. Then it looks like a game that's $10 worth of fun. Easily.
Yeah, definitely. If there's anything more than that, then I don't think it'd be worth it. But I mean, that's just at that really good price where, all right, yeah, I can handle it.
Should Steam be doing a sale pretty soon?
We've been saying that for weeks.
Yeah.
Or always chasing that sale dragon.
It's roughly
Some spring sale or something?
yeah,
'Cause
it's
spring
roughly the
now,
right
so-
time. They usually do a sale around the time of spring break.
April Fools.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Not that we need it.
No,
particularly
no.
bad.
No.
We'll be getting it anyway.
But you've
Probably.
got Dark Souls 2 on April 20?
It's on the
25th, I think.
25th.
Okay,
yeah,
it's still a ways away.
I don't know about
Yeah.
that. I
What?
don't know.
What?
You don't know? You
I
know?
don't, I
You don't feel good about it?
it is not something there. Not going to fully explain my reasoning because it won't make sense anyway.
Okay.
There are certain things in the world I have no problem checking out on day one, regardless of how confident I am that they're going to work correctly. Day one is its own thing. If you want to be the kind of person that always waits for something, so you can be 100% sure about how you spend your money, that's perfectly fine. Literally, I'm not interested in doing that. I really like seeing how a lot of things work on day one.
Yeah.
That one, however, I'm not. I am not completely convinced that it's going to be what I want to play on day one. And I don't want that's not a game I'm willing to suffer certain kinds of frustration for.
Are you worried about like overabundance of invaders?
No, man, I'm
interactions?
worried that it's going to be bad.
It's PC release.
Oh, you want a DS fix for it first?
I want to know whether it needs
Needs
a DS
one, yeah.
fix. I want to know what it's going to look like day one. I want to know how it's going to play. They didn't do a very good job, and I know that it was a rushed port. I know that it really was, and I know that they were very clear and very upfront about their lack of experience developing for the PC. I also know that they have said look, we're paying much more attention this time. We're trying to add in all of the things that you were frustrated didn't ship with the game previously. But, and I'm not talking about waiting a long time here. I don't know that's going to be a, day one, preload it the night before kind of purchase for me. I may wait a couple of days and really see what people have to say about it. I don't want to wait long. I don't want to be left out. But,
I'll say, given what happened last time, it's understandable.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm
'Cause
just, I'm just skeptical.
Because
I'm
won't,
guarded.
I don't think you wait long because it won't take long at all for you to find out whether or not.
For me
you
to
got
find
the
out
biggest
exactly
messed up
how
anyway.
Yeah, and you could actually still probably get it day one,
Maybe.
considering you'll probably find out quite fast
Right.
if it needs the. Because I think that's the question on probably a lot of people's minds waiting for the PC version.
Sure.
Is it fixed this time or is it not? Which odd enough that they haven't come out and said that, or maybe they have come out and said it, but people are just waiting for, let me get my hands on it first to make sure that this is correct,
Yeah.
which is fine. And there are plenty of other people willing to do that for you. And so
I'm often one of those people willing to do it for other games. I'll take my turns.
hey, Elder Scrolls, let's go back to that.
Right.
But yeah, exactly. So that's an easy thing to wait for, given that that's your only hang-up. But that's an easy thing to wait for, and you'll probably still come out satisfied on the same day that you could actually
Yeah, we'll
still
see.
pick it up.
I don't know. I'm not going to assume that's going to be
Oh,
true.
yeah, no reason to make any kind of assumption like that. So, but other than that, I don't know if anything else that's coming out in recent.
Daylight's coming out at the end of the month.
Yeah, it got pushed back.
Yeah, it got pushed back 2 weeks at
The
least.
29th?
Yeah, it was supposed to be sooner than that, I thought. And
Yeah, I
then
think it
got
was supposed
pushed
to come
back.
out in like middle of this month.
Oh, that's a scary game though. There's no reason I'm going to be picking that up.
Another game makes me wish I had a PS4. Though isn't it getting a PC release?
I believe it is.
Okay, then I don't care about the PS4.
I
then.
believe it is. So, anyway, hey Nathan. Hey man, thanks for showing up. Nathan's been in the booth with Matt all night here. He's going to be taking. Hey man, he's going to be answering the phones in there, and also we take your calls when you call in, and we hope that you'll actually start doing that and talking to us on the phones, and we really would appreciate stuff like that. But as it is now, I want to thank everybody for joining us in the chat room, as well as everybody listening on the stream or even on their radios. We really do appreciate it. Everybody who grabs us each week from iTunes or however you get our show for later use, we really appreciate it. Go to ingamechat.net, and you can join us on Twitter, Facebook, our forums at colonyofgamers.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're on Steam, we've got a Steam group you can join up with over there and play games with us and other listeners, and Goat Simulator with Matt. Whatever you want to play, you can head on over there and do it. Don't forget, ingamechat.net. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye.